Wayne, I do want to start with this munitions story because the questions about America's stockpile of air defense interceptors continues to come up. My dad was sending me this article over the weekend, and he was talking about it from the Journal. The U.S. races to accomplish Iran mission before munitions run out. You and the team separately had a note out over the weekend about how the U.S. strikes heighten replenishment demand for precision munitions, naval firepower, and air power. The U.S. is the biggest and best funded military in the world. How and why are we concerned about air defense interceptors running out?
One of the biggest things here I also want to say is I think that our team also looks at it and says, okay, there's going to be plenty of munitions as well as interceptors for this specific conflict. I think the real risk is actually how ready do you want to be for a potential contingency in 2027 and beyond, if it's a China-Taiwan situation or anything else like that. So the longer that this war goes on right now is going to be those increased munitions. They're the same types of munitions that you would actually want to use in a conflict in the Indo-Pacific as well. So I think that's one of the biggest pieces. But like you were saying earlier, right now, Lockheed, RTX, Northrop, all are sitting at the center of this air missile defense and strike capability that's underscored by the U.S.-Israel campaign in Iran. That is one of the biggest pieces that's pushing it right now. But the way that they're going to fight this with a long-range weapon system, a lot of those are going to be some same things that would be used in a China scenario. So when you look at those replenishment numbers, it's because the rate that we end up firing these, as well as the amount that we've given to Ukraine over the past 4 years, you put all those together, it has taken a hit to the stockpiles. But I don't believe for one second that the U.S. military is sitting here going, oh, we're about to run out. I think they have operation plans that are put in place to say in these types of contingencies, this is what we think it would actually be. And then they make sure that they have those available. But they keep those classified for a reason so that nobody truly knows, because obviously it would show vulnerability if they were really low.
Well, just from a manufacturing perspective, how long does it take to actually build a single interceptor that we're speaking about? How much do they cost? What are the resources that go into it? Can't the U.S. government just call RTX or Lockheed or whoever the contractor is and say,
I believe Amazon has them on their site.
Yeah, we want more of these and we're willing to pay.
No, absolutely. And I think that's one of the biggest things that people don't quite understand when it comes to production capacity for these types of, especially the top tier weapon systems. The PAC-3 interceptors from Lockheed. Lockheed last year did 550 to 600 total throughout the course of that year. Then you look at how many were actually spent in Ukraine in that year, we're actually in a negative. It's one of the reasons why Lockheed got a $9.8 billion 7-year deal to ramp up that production to try and reach 2x to 4x capacity within these years, right? RTX, the same type of thing. They're looking at a lot of money that came out of reconciliation bill and others for the SM-6s and the SM-2s, which are some of the Aegis naval capabilities that you're seeing a lot in the news as well. So ramping up that production, even if you threw $20 billion at them right now, it's still going to take quite a bit of time for them to ramp up production lines, be able to do that, as well as the supply chain that goes into all those unique components that are put into it.
Does this continue? I mean, what kind of visibility do we have on all these names and these contracts? What kind of visibility does it give on the sector? Because we saw the group overall, if you lump aerospace and defense, quite a rally in last year's trade. But what kind of visibility, Wayne, do we have on all of these names? And it feels like the world is arming itself again.
It absolutely is. It is. And so U.S. defense primes are leading the way, obviously, on that, based off of just industrial capacity. They also run the top of the line. So you look at F-35 and the F-22, the reason why those have gone so well right now is due to their stealth technology. So right now, if you're looking at Europe trying to actually arm with a 6th generation fighter, they're probably running about 10 years behind to be able to do that. That doesn't help them with Russia. It doesn't help them, with NATO defense as they can increase their defense spending. So, they're probably going to turn around and look more at F-35 as a stopgap solution while they continue to try and develop that. So Rheinmetall and some of the other European defense primes that are over there, they are obviously getting a pretty good lion's share of what's going on with Europe. But everybody is trying to figure out how they can actually arm with enough air defense capability is number one. long range capability, number two, and then they've got to figure out a way to have enough ground security, right? So you are looking at those ground vehicles as well. It's just an area right now where it depends on each of those countries what they need, and that's where they're going with it.
As you know, sometimes it's for deterrence, sometimes it's for actual action, which is what we had over the weekend. I keep thinking of the trade-off, guns versus butter. And so if we have a government that is aggressively, or governments around the world that are aggressively building up their defense, what's lost in terms of civilian programs, or what don't we have money for? And we continue to see our deficit grow. So I'm just wondering how you guys are thinking about that. What's the trade-off here for Americans?
On the U.S. side, that's definitely one of the reasons why when President Trump was pushing for a $1.5 trillion top line budget in 2027, looking at trying to be able to do that. We don't think that's something that's necessarily something that's obviously going to pass, and something that no matter how much he tries to push for it, we're probably not going to see, because it's going to give away to some of the social programs. We don't think it's going to actually pass through Congress in that way. It would probably be something that may be congressional plus up for specific capabilities to include munitions like we're talking about right now, if they're concerned about additional ramp up that you might see to be able to do that. The other countries, especially in Europe, you're seeing some closer. If you look at Poland, they only have a 57% debt to GDP, so they have money to spend. Germany does a good job of that, and that's one of the reasons why you're seeing so much defense spend there. The further left you go, the more restrictive, and where they're actually topped out in reaching 100% or above 100% and taking on that debt. So it's making it so that they are more restrictive in terms of what they can buy, and where they're probably looking more on their allies to be able to provide them with support.